Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the IT Community Rijeka live stream. Today, we are going to talk about an interesting topic called entrepreneurship. So, entrepreneurship is basically, or an entrepreneur is a new role, relatively new role that has been coming up quite recently with the development of startup companies. So, these weird companies that actually don't have a lot of structure. You usually look for people that are quite proactive, that have a lot of energy, that strive to build things from the ground up and have this way of communicating with people and helping the company grow. So we have a lot of very cool examples when it comes to Google, when it comes to other companies, how they basically allocated and gave 20% of the time for a specific job, for a specific person, for them to explore another project or something interesting within the company. That is the way how Google News was born. That is the way how Gmail was born. And we can name lots of other examples that we know from abroad. But I, through my career, had met a person that really embodies the definition of an intrapreneur. So I'll welcome now Tomislav. Hi, Tomislav. Hi, Tom. Tom for the English-speaking folk.
Yeah. That's why I usually say Tom to everyone, because my experience is when I say Tomislav, it's people are struggling or pronouncing it weird, then it's like, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna shorten it. It's much cooler that way.
Yeah, let's just say Tom. So basically I called you up because when we worked in the past company that we worked together, and we basically had this experience of I noticed that there were a lot of people that were basically encouraged to be entrepreneurs. So you were head of a department there, and basically I had noticed that you had a lot of freedom and flexibility and a lot of ways of doing things on your own, actually, through the company. And I didn't have the name for it back then, but I noticed that a lot of leadership roles were given within the company, so that people could basically do their own thing and lead the company in a certain way. So can you tell me a bit more about the very beginnings of your career, and how did you get from the how did you notice that you basically always have this desire to be actually an entrepreneur?
So I was finishing up the Faculty of Electrical Engineering in Zagreb, and I wanted to work in telecommunications. That was something that I've chosen since second year, and I didn't really have a clear idea of what I want to do. I just knew I wanted to be in telecommunications. And I started working briefly in Ericsson, where I was I felt like a small cog in the system, very, very small. And I just thought to myself, like, this can't be my life. I mean, I can't do this like forever. It just doesn't feel right. And then I started looking for another opportunities. And then I started working for Tele2, for a third mobile operator in Croatia, which was a small, almost like a startup company back then. Well, except for the part that Tele2 Sweden was funding it, so it's not really like struggling there. But in terms of how many people worked and how we worked, was it was very much a startup. And then I started like more thinking about what I want to do, and I realized at one point that working on projects, various projects, meaning always doing something else, something new, kind of stuck with me like a really nice thing. I really like that a lot. It's like I was never doing the same thing over and over again. It was always something new. So, for example, I worked on introducing data, then called GPRS in Croatia, which is a very cool project. And after that, I was working on a project of telemetry of our base stations. And you know, and soon another project like that, and another, and it's always like, wow, this is new, something new, something interesting. And I started like, you know, thinking, oh, okay, so this is all cool, and I get to know all these people, and I get to know how the whole system works together, and you know, and I found myself in it, like, you know, like really, it felt well. It felt like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then I worked briefly for a company that did some electronic exchange of documents with large companies in retail section. And then I joined a Croatian unicorn where we worked together. And I was there for 3 years, and I totally managed to find myself there with the experience I had, with the mindset I think I started back in Tele2. And I've been doing that ever since. After the experience in Infobip, I went to Siemens, where I was working on a big project of over-the-top television. I kind of felt like there were the people I knew there were selling me the idea that, yeah, it is Siemens. It's like a big company with a lot of structure, with a lot of hierarchy, but we're kind of trying to do it in an agile way. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, I like that. Let's see how that goes. And so I left, and I joined Nanobit, where I was working for 4.5 years, where this was my first gaming job. And I kind of remembered again that when I was in high school, when I was end of elementary school, I really wanted to work in games. I really wanted to do games, and this was like a dream come true, to be honest. And I totally fell in love with the industry. It's very young, very creative, very, I would even say, naive industry. In a way that I did a role. I was performing in the role of a business development manager, and I spoke with a lot of people, and everybody was very transparent, very honest. Sometimes when I was like doing these meetings in telecom industry, it's like we're talking in different languages, and we just have to learn how to understand each other. And in gaming, it's like, you know, people say everything they feel and mean, and, you know, oh, you're right, we can't do that, let's go grab coffee. And then I'm like, well, maybe we can do something else. Why are you giving up immediately? Let's think about it, you know. And I really like that. There is no like well, at least I didn't meet any sharks. I didn't meet any, you know, people that are not very, you know, honest with you when they talk to you, when they work with you. And I loved it. I really loved it. And after that, I joined Rawfury from Sweden, who opened up a development studio in Zagreb called Fury Studios, and that was September 2019, and I've been running the studio ever since.
Yeah, so I had noticed this keyword when you talked about your career. So you mentioned startups a lot. So is your mindset, or an entrepreneur mindset, kind of correlated with the startup world? Does sometimes the lack of structure and hierarchy actually attract people like you to the startup world? Do you
Yes.
like when it's kind of messy?
Well, I would say that I'm not like totally on that like far out on the spectrum. I'm more going in the middle. So I don't really like a lot of hierarchy. I don't like a lot of processes. And of course, it depends on the size of the company. So when you have a lot of people just working in a startup kind of way, I don't feel it works. You need to do something then to, you know, manage that. But I like something in the middle. I like when like you say, when it's kind of messy and you are like, there's not a lot of people in the chain of command making the decisions. You can talk with whoever you want to do something to solve some problem, and you don't have to like wait for a decision. It can be done immediately. And so like in that sense, yes, but I also do like some kind of like, you know, let's structure some things, because it feels like it, you know, if we template certain things a bit, it will help us in the long run. So I would say something in the middle, more inclined to the messy side of things, but not just messy, I would say.
Yeah, because I watched your podcast on Good Games where you mentioned when you joined Nanobit. So you joined Nanobit because of a certain project. They hired you for a very specific project, and that project got canceled. Am I right?
Yeah, I think first or second week of me being there.
Yeah, the funny thing when I was watching this interview, the funny thing was the host mentioned that. So you found your own job. You found what you are going to do within that company, and you laughed. But basically, that was the point. Like, yeah, okay. So that is what Tom does. So he kind of finds the way of what he does in the company. So can you tell me a bit more? So you find yourself kind of stranded in the company. So you were supposed to do something, and you did something. You had to find your own way in Nanobit. So how did that work? I believe that you have this. You want to bring structure to the company. At the same time, you prefer the company to be a bit more loose on the hierarchy side, but you like structure in a way that it helps communication and it helps processes be done better. Am I right? Or
yeah, exactly. So my idea immediately was to like look at the way how things are done, how people and departments are working together, so that I understand how is it all tied up together, and then I started making suggestions on how to improve on this, how to improve the daily communication, the agile kind of way that we were working. So we used Scrum for working on various projects. Of course, not the vanilla flavored one, but like a kind of modified custom one. And I felt like it could be better. And then I introduced like let's do Jira, and this is the flow in Jira, how I see it, and let's talk about it. Maybe there's something I'm missing, and let's adjust it so that we do it in the best way possible. And this is how art department is going to do stuff, and this is how development is going to do stuff, and this is how we are going to communicate with the marketing, and we started analytics in after some time department. So all these kind of things, and I was like working on this, and then also during that time I saw that we have a need for someone to communicate with external partners, because it wasn't done in any structured kind of way. It was more like, oh, you take this, and that person will answer this email, or whoever will answer, and stuff like this. And it was coming to an info mail, and then people working at the reception were sometimes responding. And I said, yeah, I mean, no offense, but let's do it in a proper way. Let's have one person doing this and one communication channel, and then he will disperse the communication to whoever is needed in that process. So I started doing that, and then it was like after a while it started crystallizing that it might be a good idea to call this business development role that I'm doing as well, and then I started doing that, and after some time I was also setting up a team that I called operations. I basically called them my children. We were setting up developers to do things in a way that we were maintaining some older games, which was not, again, done in a proper way. It was maintained only when something breaks. But I saw, there is an opportunity there. We might be still earning some revenue. So let's have a team that is actually dedicated, and it will be filled with people that come into the company. So it will be their first job. They will get to know the games. They will get to know the code base and things like this. And then after that, we'll send them to, like the newer projects, newer games and stuff like this. Then I set up also a backend team as a team, and I was like running that as well, so that we start, doing some things again in a structured way. How are we going to scale our server infrastructure? How are we going to do things with Amazon? Are we going to do any automatizations? Are we going to do any monitoring and alarms if something breaks, and if we have any issues with databases? So I had some experience with these kind of things from telecom, because telecom is highly, I would say, regulated industry, and in that sense I knew how things were done that way, like with backups, with automatization, with the alarms, with monitoring, with everything. And then I brought that experience there and introduced it. And so yeah, I did like a lot of things there when I was in Nanobit.
So how many people were employed in Nanobit when you joined them?
I think below 50. I think I was
Okay, that's a
47
lot.
employees or something.
That's a
Yeah.
lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot. So how
Mhm.
do you, so you explained the process and it makes total sense, but fitting into a growing company, so you came as a person that you know how it is in smaller companies, words like gossips and word spreads around quickly. So someone said, oh, Tomislav is coming, he will handle this and that. So when you came and when you basically introduced yourself to the whole team or everyone employed there in Nanobit, how did the whole communication function in a way that they accept you as someone that essentially became a crucial part of the company? So what this was spread out in a couple of years, because okay, you had simplified this whole process right now, but I presume that it went really slowly. Or how did it go, the whole fitting in part? So that
Well,
was always interesting to hear.
well, when I arrived, when I started looking into how the company works and how some processes are done, I started talking with I would say key people, key developers, key artists, key backend people, marketing people. So I had a meeting with everybody face to face. I explained what I want to do. I explained my background, my experience, and I asked them to help me out, to explain to me how they work, to explain to me what tools they're using, what they're missing, how they things should be done. And I started working on improving this with the ideas, with actual implementation of these ideas, and communicating that in a timely manner to everyone involved, so that they feel like their feedback is appreciated, and I'm not just coming and saying this is the way we're going to do stuff, and your opinion doesn't matter. Of course it matters, because like you said, they're there for years, they're seniors, they understand the company and the vision and mission and the soul of the company. So I'm there more to facilitate this and to speed up certain things and to improve certain things with their help. Of course, it wasn't like that I was doing these just by saying I want to do it this way.
Do you get vision from a vision from employees or from, so this is a tricky question, or from co-founders? Do you get more valuable data from employees or from co-founders, from from CEOs or whatever, the people that own the company?
I
So
would
yeah.
Yeah, I would say both. I mean, I don't want to say that it's more valuable coming from the owners, or it's more valuable coming from the people. It's equally valuable. I mean, the owners started the company with an idea in their mind, and of course that's very important, and you need to follow up on that, and you need to understand what they want, and you need to do this according to their vision. But then of course you have the people, and then you get maybe sometimes a clash of certain things, that okay, this is the vision, how the owners see the company, and the people see it maybe in a different way. And then sometimes this helps you, because then you can steer and manage those expectations better, and try to push certain things, because that this might be good for the company, because a lot of people like it and want it, and it doesn't really interfere with how the owners see the company. So I would say it's equally valuable.
So do you think that a person that identifies as an entrepreneur is more of a hands-on person or more of a strategy person, or is it both?
I would say both.
Both.
I would say both. I mean, well, at least that's how I see my role. I was always thinking about the broad picture of how to do things for the better of the company, for the future, so I would say it in a strategic kind of way. But I also always liked to do things, hands-on. I didn't really felt like delegating things if not needed. If I can do it, and if it's something that it's fun and it's nice to do, I always felt like doing it.
Yeah, because right now you're the head of a studio, and basically I presume that you think about strategy like 3/4 of your time, or am I wrong?
I'm doing again both because I'm not just the head of studio. I'm also a game producer for our game Kingdom Two Crowns. So I'm doing a lot of working with development and with artists as well. And so I'm doing both. I'm doing strategic in a ways on how I want to scale up the studio, hire people, what's the talent pool we're looking for, what's the tools that we need, what's the obstacles that we have, how we need to improve things, how to speed up the development cycle, all these kind of things. But I'm also working directly on one project, so it's very hands-on for me there.
I'll steer a bit away from today's topic, so from mindset of entrepreneur, and talk a bit more about Rawfury. So I had shared on IT Community Rijeka Facebook page. You have a lot of free education on, I think, on Unreal Engine. You had this course just recently. Can you talk a bit?
No, we started. This will be our first time, and it will start in March. So first weekend of March. That's going to be next weekend, actually. So not the one that's coming this week, but the next one. And it's going.
What is your motivation? Why are you sharing? So this is expensive. So people, when they go into game development, I don't think that they realize that this is a industry that requires a lot of extensive knowledge and experience, and sharing this knowledge for free. What is your motivation? What's going on?
Well, we had most of our projects are done in Unity, and we also started getting a lot of projects recently in Unreal. And when this started happening, it became increasingly worrisome for me that finding people who are actually very skillful at Unreal /C++, that pool is not really big, at least in Croatia. And well, actually, even when looking abroad in some companies for external help, it was either very expensive or they didn't really even have the time for a lot of companies, that they were like so booked that, well, maybe in a year or something. And then we started thinking about it, and since we have relationships with Epic, who is the owner of Unreal Engine, we started thinking about, hey, why don't we do like a course? So we share with the community, we cover all the cost, we find the lecturers, and we do it so that people gain some knowledge. And who knows, maybe with that we also get some people who would be like really good, and they show some promise and talent, and we get to hire them in the studio, and they continue working for us afterwards.
Yeah, it's about recruiting the right mindset. Let's call it like that. You can see right away. In the past company that you and I worked for, well, they had this similar strategy of having people joining, and for this, how do you call it? Sort of they spent 2 weeks together, and basically
Academy. It was called Academy.
Academy, sure. I was going for an incubation center. I don't know why. So Academy, and yeah, it's a good way of seeing someone's work ethic and mindset, etc., and see if someone's talented for something. Yeah, it's always refreshing to hear that someone has brought this new industry. So it's not a new but interesting industry in Croatia. So how did that went about? So how come that you are now working? You used to work for Nanobit. So okay, so the connection with the gaming industry is there. But how come now a Swedish company again? You used to work for Tele2. So how did that happen? That collaboration?
Well, Rawfury was looking to. Rawfury is first and foremost a publisher of games, so they didn't have a development studio, any development related people within the studio. So they started looking into maybe finding and opening up their own development studio. So they wanted to find the location where to do this.
Can you, sorry, can you just explain? So it's apparent for me, the difference between the publisher and the development. Can you just briefly explain what's going on here? What's the difference between a publisher and a development company, a game development company? What's going on here? Because for the typical person, maybe it's...
So the development company is usually the company that has the idea for the game, and they have the talent, and they are actually making that idea into a reality, meaning they are drawing up assets, they are making them into a game, programming that so that it works as a game, and they come up with in the end with a I would say a build, let's say, of a game that works most usually on PC, and you can play it on PC. And then a publisher comes and says, okay, guys, this is a very cool idea. We like it. Let's, we would like to fund you for ending the game properly. And we're going to also fund the porting of the game from PC to other platforms, which is something that most developers don't do themselves. And then we'll also fund marketing efforts, which is not really, it's not really cheap.
So we'll give you structure. So we'll give you structure.
Yeah. Publisher will help out with everything that's related to so the developer makes the game and builds it and says, okay, this is the game that we wanted to make and we want the people to play. And then the publisher is the one that makes sure that it's actually reaching out to the right audience and that the people are playing it and enjoying it and actually paying for it, so that developers can actually get the reward for their dream, for their vision coming true and in form of the game.
Yeah, so you know all the nicks and knacks of the market. So
yeah,
negotiating with all of the, I don't know, stores, or I presume, so stuff like that.
Yes,
so
exactly. We have the platform relations. We are working with streamers to play the game and show it and explain it. We're working on marketing campaigns on social networks, on magazines, or whatever is needed. So we are doing that all the show the game and push it to the right audience part.
Yeah, I have a small kid at home who's 5 years old. And he likes to watch this local game YouTube streamer that deals with games. And he watched one of your games, one of the games that you published, Call of the Sea. So,
okay.
HCL.HR, Igor Belan, had reviewed this game, and we watched it, and it was great fun because he mentioned your studio. He mentioned basically how all of it was developed, and it was really cool to see the whole full circle. Like, my kid is watching this game being reviewed by YouTube gamer. No offense, Igor. And yeah, so yeah, that was interesting to see the whole how it evolves and how it reaches the end customer. So based on that review and based on other things that you put your effort in, we, the end clients, decide if we are going to try out or play the game. So that is really cool. I'm not always quite sure if that is intentional. If you reach out to all of these people on Twitch and YouTube or whatever, or
most of them, yes.
Yeah. So that is really cool. So I can I'm diverting a little bit from the topic, but I can say that most of the decisions that I make when I buy a game is on Twitch or on YouTube, and the reviews and the gameplay. So it's really cool that someone is really diving into that and basically doing that for mostly indie games, if I'm not correct.
Yes, we're indie publisher, yes.
Yeah. So let's get back to entrepreneurs. So you had mentioned before you mentioned some keywords that kind of made me wonder if you have educated yourself a bit more on these topics formally. So you mentioned that you were a product owner. You mentioned that you were a Scrum Master. Did you get any formal education? Do you think that there's importance in that? Is it important to educate yourself and get certificates during your career. Did it help you?
Yeah, so I did the from Scrum Alliance. I did a Scrum Master and a Product Owner education, and I also did from PMI, Project Management Professional, and PMI Agile Certified Professional educations and certifications, which I found useful. All four of them. I don't, I'm not really sure what people maybe sometimes expect out of it. So I don't know. I expected to actually learn some things on how to, a lot of these things that you learn there are more like them somehow in your heart, but then somebody really like explains them and tells them out loud and visualizes them for you, and then it's like, yeah, of course. I mean, yes, common sense, I understand, but I actually enjoyed it. I actually liked it. I think I learned a lot from there. So even just by learning for the certificate test, I think I learned a lot, and I think it was very helpful for me and helpful in my daily work afterwards.
Can you tell me how many? So you mentioned through these certifications, product owner, Scrum Master. These are all so business development. How many roles, for example, in Nanobit, did you have in the companies, or generally in the companies you worked for? Was it always 2 or 3 or 4 roles? So is it stressful? How do you handle it?
I would say it's even more than it's a lot of roles that you take when you're like doing these kind of things. Sometimes you just you're like a couch psychologist. Sometimes you're just listening to people and like trying to understand what bothers them and trying to help them out and remove the obstacles, the problems, the stress from them, and to be able to help them and to be able to help them be more relaxed and more feeling that somebody cares for them, so that they're like really engaged in the daily work and like in communication with you, because they feel they can trust you, which is something I'll always foster. A lot of the things actually that I see when I'm working and how I'm doing things with people, to be honest, come from sports. I'd trained and played basketball for a long time in my life, and all these things there, the dynamics that you do in the team and between teammates and the captain and teammate and the coach, is something I see a lot in the daily work when I'm working in the business environment as well. And I try to use up all my experience that I gained there, and I like to think that it helped me a lot, to be honest.
So it's like this sincere approach, and no gossiping, no spreading over the rumors. Like,
exactly.
You can talk to me, and this will not leave the room. You have their confidence. It's like being it's like being a best friend to someone. So I would.
Well, I don't do, I don't. When people like say, we are like, we're not a company, we're a family. I kind of feel like that's bullshit. I'm not like lying. We're not best friends, But I am really here for you. So I'm not saying that you're not gonna be, or I'm not gonna be your best man at a wedding. But we are going to be like really in a good position. So if you feel like there's something that bothers you, you will be able to tell me, and I will be really able to help you. And I'm not going to use up that information later on in any kind of situation where I might use it in a negative kind of way. And and I kind of always strive to do a lot of these small things for the team, where I feel like it's a small thing that I do, and it's a small cost of something that you need to do, and you gain a lot from the team. Many times when I was like really trying to create good chemistry, I would take the team out for drinks. I would take the team out for lunch. I would celebrate a success on a project with a nice lunch or a few drinks in a bar. I remember one time we had there was the Thursday was a non-working day, so a lot of people took Friday off, but some people who only came recently in the company couldn't take it. And I could have taken it, but I didn't. I went to work on Friday, and I brought, I think, like 20 donuts or croissants or some shit. And I told them I'm gonna bring chocolate milk because they're still growing. So I brought this to them, to a lot of people, and it's not that's not a big cost for me personally. That was maybe like 100 kunas or something. But like I did that for them, and they liked the gesture. So it wasn't like, you fed us, but it's more like it's a nice gesture. So when we were in a tight spot a few months later, and I needed them to stay a little bit longer on the project that day or 2 days or 3 days, there was no issue for this. They weren't like complaining and saying, I have to be somewhere. It's more like, this guy is really solid, and we're going to help him out as much as we can here.
Here on this channel, we're always trying to figure out what is the best approach for a young person that just got out of college. What is the best mindset and best approach to things and to life and to career when it comes just dealing with the employee, dealing with the employer. So I can tell that you have a lot of experience with the juniors, with the middle, and with the seniors, like dealing with and basically coaching the juniors and dealing with some of the people within the higher structures, however you want to put it. What would you say? What is like the best advice that you could give to someone that just finished, I don't know, IT school, college, and is looking for work in, for example, game development? What is the best advice that you could give when it comes to the mindset, when it comes to approaching things in his or her career?
Well, that's mostly related, I would say, personally to me, how I see things. So I honestly, the best kind of people I like and I like working with are proactive people. That's the what is that, a skill? No, it's not a skill, like a character
Character
line of
trait.
somebody. It's like
Yeah.
a trait. I that's what I'm looking for always, because those are the best people that you can work with, in my opinion. Because if somebody is proactive, then nothing will be an issue, nothing will be ever a problem. There will only be multiple ways to solve it, and then it's like a breeze to work with the people like that. My personal like management style is that I don't like to do micromanagement. I hate that. I hated it when somebody was micromanaging me. So I'm not doing it either to anybody. I like to be able to give out something to the people, like, okay, we need this done. You tell me, because you are the expert in this, when is this going to be done? And I'm going to go with this. So, and we can be wrong, of course, because it's not like this is an assembly line so that we know exactly how much things we're going to be doing in a certain amount of time. But after a while, we're going to be really precise, and I'm going to count on you when you say you're going to do it, and we're going to do it in this time frame, and this is then going to be like the best, I would say, work relationship that you can have. I will produce what we need to do. I will come up with, this is the outcome we want.
Mm-hmm.
I will produce the pace. I will remove obstacles. I will help out wherever I can, and you will just be focusing on the work. And I will not be coming to you from time to time and asking, "Hey, what is the status with this?" Because you're just going to be you're going to be doing it yourself, and you will be coming back and saying, "This is done. What else do we need to do?" Or even better, this is something that is a priority, and we need to do it. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to come back in 3 days, and it's going to be done. I personally like these kind of people the best. This is how I see it. This is shown in all of my companies where I worked, and in all of my teams and everywhere, that these were the best kind of employees I ever had.
Yeah. So I kind of witnessed, and I know you did also, when there are debates, even on our Facebook groups. We have these developer Croatia Facebook groups, etc. And there are debates where people say you have to have some sort of a pressure on the team. There has to be this pressure on the team so they are like performing better. I was always on the team on the side where I kind of said that no, you have to remove the pressure. If you hired the right people, then they will do the work without the pressure. So I'm wondering about your opinion. So what do you think? Is pressure healthy sometimes? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I was just about to say that this what you said. Sometimes, yes, sometimes I feel pressure is needed. Um, I personally don't have problems working under pressure. So for me, it's either way. Of course, it's not healthy if it's the pressure is there for a long time.
So
And
it should be like in sprints, like 5% of the time, 10% of the time.
No, it's not even like that. I feel like we are talking about. I'll give you an example that we did with the last release of the game that we did. So we were having some issues, and I was giving very much freedom to the people on, when they were fixing this, and so they were fixing it, and then one day we are not done, and the second day, and the third day, and the fourth day, and the fifth day, and then we go into a second week. And then on Wednesday, I'm like, where are we with this? And then it's like, oh, they still have some few things to do. And I said, yeah, but we were supposed to be finished like 8 days ago. And they were like, yeah, but we ran into issues and then I was like a little bit, you know what? I don't care. 2 days, we need to be finished with this. Oh, no, I really don't care. You just finish it in 2 days. That's it. We need to be finished by Friday. On Friday, I want to have builds that are ready, that QA goes through them and says they're good to go, and we ship them. Friday. Deadline is Friday. You need to do it. And they were like, there's a lot of work. I said, I know, you better hurry then. And then people were like, a little bit like this. But then on Friday, we were actually ready. So I don't apply it all the time, because I don't, if the pressure is there all the time, then there is no pressure, because that's just the normal way of working. But from time to time, I feel like pressure is needed, definitely.
Yeah, it's sometimes a push in the right direction is needed. Yeah. So, but that pissed off Tom is something that you should rarely see, I think. So that is something that when you feel that almost someone is taking advantage of the whole situation, maybe that then you have this response. Like
yeah, but this wasn't me being pissed off. When I pissed off, it's you know when I'm pissed off. This was me just being a little bit passive aggressive. There was no like, I wasn't like throwing a hissy fit there. I was being nice, actually.
Cool. So I want to talk to you a bit more about being an entrepreneur. So you as a person obviously have these qualities that you could become an entrepreneur. You have these qualities that you could own and found your own company. Why didn't that happen? Some say that I'm that kind of a person. I can tell from my personal experience, I kind of always outweigh the risks and maybe even the family work relationship and the free time that I want to have. Maybe sometimes that's the motivation for me. I think that maybe I would burn up as an entrepreneur. I'm not sure. What is your like? What is your dynamic? What do you say about that? What do you when you discuss? I'm sure that you discussed with someone else before. Why didn't you? Oh, Tom, why didn't you start your own company? What was your response?
Yeah, this comes more to thinking about what you said, the risks of it and whatnot. When I'm thinking about it, I see a lot of problems and a lot of issues and a lot of risks and a lot of, God knows what will happen kind of things. And it kind of always hinders me then from doing it, actually, because then I'm like thinking, yeah, I mean, I have two kids. I have a mortgage on my apartment. I have all these things. What if something goes wrong? What am I supposed to do then? How am I supposed to take care of my kid? Then all these things start popping up in my mind, and then it's I think that's what stops me from doing it. Actually, it's more like I feel like even doing it now, I would need to have a lot of cushion behind me, so that I'm like safe for at least a year or two before things start working, and I just don't feel like just taking the plunge and like saying, yeah, let's go, let's do it.
You mentioned before when it comes to you mentioned Siemens. So do strong hierarchies actually how did they handle entrepreneurs. So the question is really, can you be an entrepreneur within a company if you don't have direct access to the decision makers, to possibly founders of the company? Is it
No, no.
no? So
No, I don't feel like you can do it on a micro level. So there will be some small victories for you, and you might do it something that you have like a direct manager on top of you that you can talk to and that can help you with certain things, and you can make a decision together or something. But like when you need to do like bigger things, and you need to involve more people, and then it's a decision line and whatnot, and then bigger companies, they just want a lot of structure, a lot of documentation, a lot of analysis, a lot of this, a lot of that, which I don't know, maybe is a good thing, but I don't think so. I doubt it. And it just hinders that a lot. That's what I saw in every bigger company that I work for.
yeah, I noticed that too, that if you can talk to the owner, then you have a much better chance of becoming an entrepreneur. And
Yeah.
I think maybe perhaps it's connected. If you talk and communicate with people that have this vision, and I would say are brave enough, we as people kind of tend to make these comparisons with each other. And I've noticed that when someone takes a plunge and decides to do something, then I'm becoming more braver. Is that even a word? And is it that perhaps that the transfer like of personality, does that happen if you see someone and they can transfer the vision directly to you? Is that something that you witnessed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're like, when I worked for a bigger company, and then you need to, like, there's an idea that you have, and it will, you want to speed up stuff, or you want to finish off a project, or you want to improve on something, and you think this is a really good idea. It always needs to go to your first immediate manager, and then it needs to go to a second manager, and then you're the biggest champion of your idea, and you will do it with passion, but every other people in the chain will do it with less and less passion. So it might come up that when it comes to the decision maker, it feels like, yeah, it's a shitty idea, let's not even do it. So there is no like representation there. And when you are talking directly with the decision makers, so preferably with the owners, then that's the best thing you can do, because then you have this, then the idea that you have and the passion behind it, and everything that you want to explain, it is immediately visible. So if it aligns with how the owner sees things, then that's it, you're golden, you're going to do this. And if not, then you just come up with a better idea next time. But you always have this chance, and having like a lot of people in the decision making tree just doesn't work, in my opinion.
Yeah, it kind of hinders the whole process. Yeah. So wanted to talk to you a bit more about this whole pandemic situation. So I've noticed that you always said that, and when it comes to the telecom sector, also conferences, meeting people face to face, negotiating. This is like you cannot. You mentioned this before. You cannot do some negotiation. You cannot do it over a video conference or over a phone. It's much easier to do it face to face. How do you cope with it now? So like when I think about telecom industry, and when I think about gaming industry, it's quite dependent on conferences. So how does this handle out, scope out, however you want to call it, in the pandemic?
Well, it's like you said, it's weird. It's we are, all the big events that we've attended throughout the year have been either canceled or held online, which online is good. Of course, when there is nothing, even that is good. But it's like you said, nothing can substitute for a good face-to-face meeting with body language, with facial expressions in front of you. When I'm sending emails, it's just words typed on a through bits and sent through lines. It can't really appreciate what you're trying to do, and what the other party is trying to help you out with, and how they can help you out with, and how you can help them out with, and maybe there's a collaboration. I mean, well, I don't want to go into like now details because a lot of these things are anecdotes, but like throughout my time, I had a lot of these meetings and cooperations that I did with in any work I worked for before, that came through just sitting down for coffee or like coming to a lecture of someone and then talking about certain things, and maybe even having a beer later on, and then we come to a conclusion, and then we come to a collaboration on some work. And this cannot be substituted online. I mean, yes, people can be online and drink at home, but it's never going to be how it is when you're talking face to face. I think this is sorely missed, and I think when people again start hanging out again on the conferences like GDC, like Gamescom, like Reboot, Develop Blue in Croatia, I think this is going to be very cool, very nice. People are going to really enjoy it, and there will be a lot more positivity and a lot more deals coming up then.
What's the one that's being held in, that is usually held in Dubrovnik? What's
Reboot, Develop Blue?
Reboot. Yeah. I've been told that it's a very cozy, very intimate conference. Like, it's very cool to attend.
I personally, one of the best conferences in the world, because the organizer and a very good friend of mine, Damir Đurović, he does it in a very VIP, very personal kind of level with the people. So usually conferences are like, okay, this is the expo area, this is the meeting area, and then you have restaurants and bars outside and do your stuff. And he's not doing that. He's having like, this is the expo area, this is the meeting area, these are the lecturers, but we're also having every day a special kind of thing for you guys where, I don't know, you go on yacht sailing, and you go on with this very old boat in the center of Dubrovnik for a nice dinner in a nice restaurant. And then you go, there's a fresh, I don't know how many hundreds of kilos of tuna being chopped in front of you, and sushi is being done, and you're eating, and everybody's sitting there eating and talking. And yeah, exactly. I've never seen that in any conference in the world, actually.
That means a lot coming from you, because you attended, I know that you attended a lot of conferences that aren't exactly connected with the gaming industry, but certainly have. In the last 6 years, you've been in the gaming industry, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of gaming events as well, all the big ones, except for E3 in LA. That's the only thing I think I missed. But every other I've been to, and I can honestly say that Reboot, Develop Blue, in terms of what you said, intimacy is the best one.
Yeah. So just wanted to cover with you the whole part. So you started working in 2019, September, Rawfury. So it's just the beginning of it all. 6 months in, less than 6 months in, the pandemic hits. Okay. It's been a very good year for the gaming industry. That's sure. That's a given. But how did the whole communication, because I personally know when it comes to 46L, I know that it's fine to have this remote communication. You can talk, you can share ideas with a video conference, no problem. But being remote and being far away from the headquarters can have its challenges, especially when there's a pandemic going on and you cannot go over there and fly and meet in person. How did you handle that? It was the very beginning. It's quite interesting. Can you share?
Yeah. So when we started, we had this internal conference that we have twice a year, always, called FuryCon. We had it in Stockholm in October. So there was 5 of us starting, and we went to Stockholm, and we met actually the entire company, all the people, and we were hanging there for 5 days.
How many people are in the company in the whole world?
I think now around 60, 65, and I think we were 40 back then. You were less than 40.
And you have your own internal conference. You call it internal conference.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. And it was really nice. We met all the people, and we understood all the roles, and we understood our way of working that's called holacracy. It's a very different type of how things are organized and structured, or better yet, lacking structure. So it was very good experience for us, and we got really solid grasp of how things are in the company, how the company breeds and things, and that was very cool, and we really liked it, and it helped us a lot to, you know, accommodate all the needs, all the wishes, and all the ways of how people are working. So in terms of that was super cool. And the owner, the CEO, came many times to Zagreb, and we spoke on a lot of things, and we spoke on how, you know, what is the vision behind what he wants with the Fury Studios. And when we started off, it was 5 people, and we were kind of like, yeah, maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe 8 tops. So we are 15 now,
Oh,
and we're gonna grow even more, I would say. So it's you know, it was good. That was a very helpful experience, that FuryCon in Stockholm.
I have to mention this. You can tell from the job titles that you have. Like, what is your job title when you put it in the email signature? Tell it to the audience.
My job title is Dungeon Keeper.
Okay, and I don't know if it is your CEO or whatever that person, whoever that person was, but when you take pictures together, it's like it's very silly. Like you have this person lying down on the floor, you have this
That's the
person.
CEO, yes.
That's the CEO, yeah.
Yeah.
So you obviously have this very, very relaxed communication and being silly and being very ridiculous is sometimes all all the times it's quite present in your communication and not
Yes.
only
Yes.
internally but outside. So it's can you tell me a bit more about that, because it's interesting.
It all stems from holacracy, that where we don't, that's like the flattest structure you can have. Even like the CEO doesn't know what's going on in the company sometimes, because if it's not related to him, he doesn't care, which is kind of refreshing, because you don't need to report on every single thing that you're doing. And it's more like emphasis is more like, you know, we don't really care about the titles, we care more about the roles, the role that you're fulfilling the company, the work that you do. So that's more important than title. So, you know, you can call yourself the master of universe, we don't really care. What we need you is that we hired you for this specific role, and we need you to do the job there. And we're not going to be like you know, micromanaging you. It's going to be more like, okay, this is the job that you're, you know, you're hired to do. You're going to work on this project, you're going to do this and that, and the timeline is going to be up to you to come up with other people. And then, you know, we just expect you to do your stuff, and that's it. That's, you know, if you need something, you ask whoever you need, and you don't really, there is no chain of command. You go directly to that person, and that person needs to help you. And so it's a very, very refreshing kind of a new way of working that I've never encountered before.
Yeah, I'm going to share. I have to share this image. Like, oh, okay, you can't see it right now. It's quite silly. Like you have this like person that. So this is you. This is the CEO, I presume.
Yes.
People.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have these all of these funny pictures. You have people lying on the floor. It is a company that. Yeah, basically, I would look forward when I see these pictures. I would look forward working for you guys, because it seems like you're having a bunch of fun doing the stuff you do.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
was actually on the last FuryCon that we held just before the pandemic in Iceland in January 2020.
really
Yeah.
cool. So also you also go to other places except
Once a year it's Stockholm, and once a year it should be somewhere else. But, you know, pandemic messed it all up. It was only the first Stockholm we did, and then the second was Iceland. I couldn't go because my second kid was about to be born. So my wife would kill me if I went. She eventually gave labor later, so, you know, fuck me. Okay, but okay, it is what it is.
Yeah. So it was really nice talking to you, Tom. So I really appreciate you sharing all of these information with us, because you cannot find this in a textbook, as you mentioned it before, with the certifications. Yeah, you can put some structure, you can find some things out, but it's always better to hear it from a person that went through all of it, especially in Croatia, where we have these different mindsets and sometimes different mentality that's sometimes good and helps us grow. But it was really nice talking to you and sharing these ideas. I really hope that people will take advantage of all of the education programs that you have, Rawfury has, and pay attention to your studio and what you do.
Yeah, same here. I hope that we have 20 people lined up for the course this year and for March, and if it goes well, and hopefully it will, we will probably organize it more in the future. And I really say this is going to be a really nice experience for all people participating. And hi, Branimir. I also want to say hi to you.
Oh yeah, we have a comment. Oh, I didn't even notice. Okay, hi Branimir. So nice.
He
to
was
hear
one
from
of
you.
my children.
Yeah, hi child. Yeah, so thanks for attending this talk. Thank you, Tom, for helping us out figuring out what is an entrepreneur and what do you do exactly. It was fun having you here. So thanks and bye.